Welcome to Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast, where we hear real stories from real people and we tackle all sorts of fun topics in the areas of business, marketing, entrepreneurship, mindset, the arts, and, well, life itself. It's amazing what you will pick up. Thanks for joining us. Well, good morning, everyone. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the suspended animation podcast. It's episode 209. I have a super fun one today and a super interesting one. Belinda Mendoza is here all the way from Austin, Texas. She's joining us to chat about how to use Feng Shui while working from home so you prosper in record time. And I love it. So welcome, Belinda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm just delighted.
Oh, thank you so much. Like Feng Shui has always been something fascinating to me. And I've always been fascinated by the Eastern philosophy and the Eastern mystic arts. And so I'd love to, we'll dive into that a bit more in a minute because I want to know about how Feng Shui came about, where did it come from, and then, of course, how to use it and, in our lives. But for everybody who doesn't know Belinda is a prosperity designer and Feng Shui expert based in Austin, Texas. She has been helping people succeed for over 20 years by optimizing and realigning their work and home spaces for more harmony, energy, and prosperity. So welcome again to the show, Belinda Mendoza.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the subject. Obviously, I've been, practicing it and using it myself for over 20 years.
Wow.
And, it's funny when we talk about our workspaces, everybody since COVID that are now working from home, they worked in an environment where everybody else took care of the safety and the lighting and everything about the environment for them.
That's right.
And so then they come home and they think, well, I'll just start working from home. And they don't think about any of that.
Yep.
Besides the alignment of the space, we also have to think about optimizing our environment for good health, safety, energy, good lighting, just the way we would if we were in a regular office building.
Yep, absolutely. And so funny, you've mentioned on another talk that I've been on that I've heard you about where to put your desk and where to put your lighting. And unfortunately, my place is weirdly designed and I'm kind of breaking all the rules. But
that happens for a lot of people. We try to, with people that, where they're in a space and maybe it's an apartment or a condo and they're not going to be there permanent and they don't want to make permanent changes. We come up with different solutions and options that are better than what they might have, that would improve, that would increase what they're doing. But yes, for me, I was in this medical device fields, ex-social worker, and as a teacher didn't make much money, so I got snatched up by a pharmaceutical company and I really wasn't a fit. I mean, I did well, but I wasn't in alignment with that industry. Medical device sales, which was more consultative selling, so I would be going into the OR and working with the doctors and sharing the products. It was way more up my alley. But after years of doing it and realizing that there's a lot that you can gain from that, there's this work-life balance that was missing. I wasn't giving myself a chance to enjoy the fruits of my labors. I was on the road all the time, never home. And I wanted something, and I wanted to resign after about a 16-year career and do something creative that I enjoyed. And I had a friend that introduced this to me. She was a very well-traveled lady that I met at church, and she just said, have you heard about this art that if you move your desk around, you can, boost your career?
Wow.
And I said, no, but I'm fascinated. And like you, I was very interested in Eastern arts and also in energy. I was fascinated with the idea that, how energy moves in our body and in our environments. And so there was only one book on the market at the time. And I just, did everything in there. And I found a Feng Shui master out of New York.
Wow.
He did my home by phone, and everything I had done on that book, I mean, every line I did except one thing.
Wow.
And that's the very first thing he mentioned.
Oh, really?
And it was very ironic because he said, first off, before we go into anything else, how's your front door?
Right.
And of course, my question to him was, my career was not, I wasn't getting promoted and pay raises like everybody else, and I was doing the right things. And so I wanted some help in that area. And he said, well, before we go into your office and everything, he says, let me ask you this one question.
Yeah.
How is your front door? And I said, my front door? He says, yes. And I said, I don't use it. He said, why not? And I said, well, it's stuck.
Yeah.
And he said, stuck. Okay. How long has it been stuck? And I'm going about 2 years.
Oh,
I use the
God.
garage to go in the house.
There you go.
And he says, well, how long has it been since you had a pay raise? And I'm looking and I'm going 2 years.
Oh, no way.
And so I'm getting the chills. I'm going,
Yeah.
wait a second.
Oh,
Okay. He
my
goes,
God.
yeah, in the art of Feng Shui, everything is energy.
Yep.
And it's called chi, and it flows. And it flows through the architectural front door.
Yep.
And so if that's blocked, and in the western part of Feng Shui, the front door is called your career.
Yep.
There are life areas to our house in Feng Shui.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, you need to get that door fixed and start using it. And so I said, okay. And so we did other little things in my office. Okay. Not a whole lot. The very next day, I made a phone call to get the door fixed. And it was like, this guy shows up. He takes it off the hinges. He fixes it. I get ready to write him a check. He goes, you don't owe me anything. I said, what do you mean? He goes, oh, I'm the one that put it in years ago.
Oh, my God. No way.
And we had just moved to this town. And I said, really? And he said,
God.
oh, and by the way, I'm the mayor of the town.
Oh, my. There you go.
And
Look at
so
that.
I'm like, I'm not only getting my door fixed, but by the mayor.
Yep. And it's for free.
So, and it's for free.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking there's something to this.
Oh, yeah.
And so then the very next day, I get a call from my company to move to another division if I choose to.
No way.
They're expanding. And I wouldn't have taken it. It was a lateral move.
Yep.
But because of the energy idea, I said, I'm going to do it because I'm stuck here.
Yep. Love it.
I did that. And literally in 2 years of time, I had more pay raises, promotions than I had in the previous 10 years. And it just kept moving. I went from a sales rep to a national trainer, to a district manager, to a regional, and a VP of sales. When I resigned, I was a VP of sales.
Wow.
So, I mean, it just went. And during that whole time, I was continuing to learn the art of Feng Shui.
Yep.
I got training in the US, and then I finally found a master who was teaching in China in the formal art. Amazing. And then I got to learn it, from the classical. But I was still working.
Yep.
So when I came back, I did about 50 people's homes and businesses, friends that I knew, over about 7 months for free. Yeah. Because I just wanted to see what it was about, use my teachings, what I'd learned, and see if it helped people. It helped everybody. Amazing. So I said, that's it. I'm going to take a leap of faith. I'm going to leave my company. I'm going to do this full time. I can always go back if it's not right for me. But that was 23 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
Incredible. And, something that you mentioned really struck with me because, obviously we were talking about the energy from an architectural point of view. But when you said, things can be stuck, and as you mentioned, new opportunities for work came about because you were stuck in your work environment or your work place of mind, you can also draw parallels with Feng Shui in terms of how you think. You can be stuck mentally, not only physically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can tell you that I have had people where I have Feng Shuied their homes or their businesses, and they had magnanimous results. Mm-hmm. And then I've had people, and I didn't do very much. I did some things and I helped them. And other people, I spent a lot of time with them. We moved things around, what have you, and they had very few results. The difference was the mindset.
Wow. Very interesting.
This person was ready to go. This person was very afraid.
Yep.
They want all these things, but then they're afraid of it. What is it going to mean?
Yeah.
So yes, there's so much energy in thought. The law of attraction, that whole series and philosophy is so important to this. And so I have to really talk to people about that when I'm working with them. And that's why I always start with an intention. If it's a CEO of a corporation or if it's a homemaker, I start with an intention. What is it you're really wanting? And are you open and ready to receive it?
Exactly. So you could go and, rearrange and realign your work and home spaces, but then you have to be prepared mentally to actually action any of the great opportunities that come your way because of that.
I had a Feng Shui master say, it doesn't help to Feng Shui your bedroom if you never go out.
Yeah, I love it.
If you want a new partner, okay, it doesn't. You have to get out.
Yeah, very cool. So it's very much a holistic way of thinking.
Yes.
It's not just about your environment physically.
It's body, mind, spirit, and your mental, obviously. And you asked about the origin is 4,000 years old, originated in China. And the joke that when we were on this tour, the joke was that the Chinese have all the wisdom, the Japanese make it work.
Yeah.
So it's the idea that there's all this wisdom that's 4,000 years old that is used today in modern times.
Yeah.
That back then it would probably still be kind of tucked away.
Yeah.
But today we use it in everything, in architecture, design,
Absolutely.
landscaping, organizing, ergonomics. It's just in every facet.
Love it.
And so, and of course in our bodies, and the main goal in Feng Shui that I have with people is better health. Most people call me for the prosperity, but it's better health, because if our health isn't good, we can't manifest anything.
That's right.
Right. You're not going to be able to be in a relationship if you're feeling sick. You're not going to be able to really do a great career if you're weak.
Yeah.
So you want to have a really strong energy physically, mentally. And the ironic thing about Feng Shui, because if you read certain books, it sounds like a woo-woo art. It sounds a little superstitious. So a lot of people are like, I'm not into that because that's not me. Yeah. What really, it's all about quantum physics. It's about energy and moving energy.
Exactly.
So if you get that, then you can say, oh yeah, I can work with this.
Yep. It's about the metaphysical side of things. And I love that. I've always been fascinated by spirituality and quantum physics. Yep.
Yes.
Love it.
And so if you think about it that way, I think everybody can benefit from it, and nobody is. And with the people that are very shy about it, I just asked them, I said, can you walk into a space that feels good and it feels good? Yes. Yep. Can you walk in a space and it feels bad and it feels bad? Yes. Yep. That's all we're talking about.
Yep.
You may not know how to change the feeling, which is where I can help, but you can feel energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's an interesting point. I mean, when I go into a coffee shop or a restaurant or even an office, I listen to my gut and I know where I want to sit, because there might be light around, there might be space around. I can't just sit anywhere. There's a certain place that I'm drawn to. What's your take on that?
That's because you are being aware of your environment and your surroundings, and you're honoring it. How many people do you know that they don't do that? I mean, they just walk in and they sit down in the most awkward positions.
Yep, I agree.
And then you can see how their day is going.
Yep.
And so yeah, you want to feel good all the time. And so you always make choices, even in your space. I tell people, get rid of the clutter, get rid of anything that isn't serving you, that isn't moving you forward to where you want to be going.
Yep.
Anything that somebody has given you that you don't like, don't keep it because it belonged to grandma.
Yep.
Donate it, give it to a relative, whatever, but only have things around you that make you feel really good.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it. Or maybe have a room, for all your stuff that you want to keep, and everywhere else is much more organized and much more fluid.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also you talk about where you want to sit. I mean, that's a key principle in Feng Shui. It's called the emperor position, or the armchair, which is you always have a solid back to you where you can see everything.
Yeah.
You don't want to be facing a wall. The mafia use this position all the time. Because they want to make sure they were in control.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to sit in your desk in your office space or your workspace where you have a solid wall behind you and a really nice view in front. Like this water picture would be great in front of me.
Yep.
Because this is what I see when I'm working every day.
Love it. Well,
and anything you put in front of you, the closer it is to you, the closer it's going to manifest.
Oh, okay, cool.
So if you have a desire to travel somewhere, then put that picture up there.
Yep.
Because that means all this hard work that you're doing at your computer every day is leading you somewhere.
Love it.
And that would make you feel good.
The way that I'm set up is really interesting. I was going to ask you this anyway, but because of the structure of my apartment, I have to really be facing a wall. Like I've set up a whole desk and an office unit facing a wall, because if I move it out, I've got filing cabinets. I block the kitchen. Like, so, but what I do have is I have a really nice picture very close to me of something that I bought in Thailand many, many years ago on a holiday. And so I've kind of made a nice environment, even though I'm looking at, but I'm away from, I'm back towards the front door, which is not great. But I don't know how to rectify that because of the space that I'm in.
Well, and also, you have it set up for sound, and you have it set up for the way your business needs to work. Yep. And that's important. But what we do oftentimes when we have to face a wall is we tell people to put a mirror on that wall that you're facing.
Very cool.
Because it makes you able to see what's behind you.
Yes. So the energy is,
it's not, yes. Through. And it also expands your view.
Love it. Yep.
The idea is not to feel confined and kind of blocked.
Yep.
And the mirror will just open that up. And it's not for you to see yourself, because you don't want to do that, because oftentimes you're tired and we don't want to have that image all day long. But you just want to be able to raise your eyes and be able to see behind you.
Yes, exactly.
Are you able to do that?
I'm not, because I've got a picture, but maybe I can put a mirror in here somehow and I'll rearrange the wall.
Yeah, the picture, if you can move the picture over and put the mirror more to where you can see behind you, I think it'd be in really good shape.
Okay, I love it. But let's jump in and really get into the nuts and bolts, because I want to talk about particularly how can people set up their home office to manifest the right energy, harmony, and success. So maybe let's hand over to you to give us some tips and tricks for people for setting up their home office, because they're working from home these days. What are some of the things they should be thinking about?
Great question. So the three basic proponents in Feng Shui are Qi, that there's energy in everything.
Yep.
The balance of yin and yang, which is opposites.
Love it.
And the 5 elements.
Okay.
There's earth, metal, wood, fire, and earth.
Love it.
And so when I look at an environment, I want to make sure that there's somewhat of the 5 elements there, that there's not all of one. Mm-hmm. So if it's in the tech world that we're in, there's a lot of metal. Mm-hmm. And those are grays and creams and whites, as well as the electronics.
Yeah, and a lot of plastic as well.
Yes, and too much metal is very harsh and cold, and it doesn't do a lot for our health. So we would want you to bring in other things like plants, like water, even a water feature or water picture.
That's cool.
Plants are really good for absorbing electromagnetic frequencies that we get from computers. Yep. And there's more and more research on that. Yep. And always choose plants that have rounded leaves, not pointed.
Oh, yeah, love it.
Pointed leaves at you will incite arguments.
Yep.
So rounded leaves are more harmonious.
Yep, very cool.
And then we like to use the prosperity plants, like the money plant. You can Google these if you're not familiar with them. The money plant, the jade, because it looks like coins. It's a succulent.
Cool.
And then the lucky bamboo.
Oh.
Those are the stalks. And those are really good for longevity in your business.
Funny you should say that. I've got a little, years ago when I first set up my place, I bought 3 really long bamboo sticks and I put them in this kind of vase. And I've had that for years.
There you go.
I love it.
They're really great because they do last, and then you can just replace them. I've always had people will say, "Oh, my water fountain broke, or the fish died, or my lucky bamboo died." Replace them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no woo-woo here. Yep. It means they're doing their work. They're being used.
Yep.
So you just like anything, you want to maintain the feng shui.
Yep.
So you want to keep dirt and dust to a minimum. Right. You want to make sure you have good filtration, so you're breathing good, clean air. You want to make sure you have good lighting, because that invites the qi in. Yep. Because if you don't have a window in your workspace, then you make sure you have really good natural lighting. I'm starting to use the natural light bulbs instead of the LEDs,
right?
Because I don't have a lot of light in my home office area. And then you can also do a picture of something that looks like it's outside, like this picture behind me.
Gotcha. Love it.
You could put something that looks like it's like you're looking out a window.
Yeah. Love it.
And that would make it open up and that. So you definitely want to make sure you take care of the basic elements of a space that promote good health. And then I always want you to have an intention for where you are today is the beginning of a whole new beginning. So decide today what kind of business you want to have. What does it look like? How many clients? What kind of money? What kind of setting? And write that down and put it in a prominent place where you can see it. And always write in the present tense. I have a fulfilling career that pays me $10,000 a month or more. And I always put the or more because the universe is abundant and we don't want to limit ourselves.
Yeah.
So always have an intention, then set up your space with that good, position for your desk. You don't want to be in line with the door. You want to be where you can see the door.
That's right.
At an angle.
Yeah. So,
you want to be able to sit at your desk and then over here's your door.
Okay.
In that angle.
So not directly in front of you. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then if you are in a, if you work from home and you have to share your workspace with your partner, make sure you're totally separated, 2 desks. You have your own things, your own artwork, everything has to be completely separate.
Really? Okay.
Not like one big room and then you both work there, unless it's the same business.
Okay.
But if you're in a different businesses, you have to treat it like it's 2 rooms.
Yeah, because you're confusing the energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have baby things in there, and if you have your workout stuff in there, and you have this and that, it all diffuses that energy of you wanting to really make your career go.
Love it.
So I know that, if you have a really big space and you have a newborn and, the playpen is in the far corner and you allow yourself a few hours of that is fine. But in the long term, you really want to look at having a designated space just for your work.
Gotcha. So you need, like, having your own little office is always great in your house.
Yes. And I know people work from their dining tables. They work from their living rooms.
Yep.
They work in their bedrooms, which we do not recommend at all.
No.
If you have to work anywhere in the house because you don't have an office, just make sure it's not the bedroom.
Gotcha.
Because again, the electromagnetics, we're trying to sleep. That's when we're most vulnerable with our bodies. We're at rest. We don't need all that hanging over our head when we're trying to go to bed at night.
Yeah. And I've heard you say that about technology as well, is move it away or switch it off when you go to sleep.
Yeah, your cell phones, any of that needs to be at least 6 feet away from you.
Yep.
I know people go, oh, what do you mean? I got to have it next to me. But it really is. And some people say, I have good health. It doesn't bother me. It's not something that's going to hit you tomorrow. It may be a year from now that you have some nervous issues or brain issues because of it. Right. So that's important. And then making sure that you have everything turned off. If you have a big screen TV, which we don't recommend TVs in the bedroom.
Yep.
But, if you have to have it, we prefer you have it in a cabinet.
Yep.
Or you have it covered.
Love it. So it's actually very logical. It seems very logical when you break it down and just got to think about what is the purpose of this room or this area, and then think about it from an energy point of view. And it's quite logical.
It is. And it's interesting to me that my goal all of these years of learning more and more and more about it, because it is a complicated art, especially when you get into working with the individual home and its own energy. It has its own chart. But my goal is to bring it down to layman's terms and make it just really basic things that everybody can do to improve the energy in their space.
Awesome. So Belinda, that's fantastic. I love it. What about in the car? Do we have to think about any principles of Feng Shui when you're in your car? Because we spend so much time in your car these days.
No kidding. It is it's called our vehicle through life.
Yeah, I love it.
So it is a metaphor for moving through life, right? We have to use a car for just about everything.
Yep.
And so it really has to kind of mimic the success we're creating in our workspace. Yep. So it needs to be clean, well maintained, and organized. When I was in pharmaceuticals, I wasn't a big fan of that career path and job, but it taught me a lot of good skills. And the first thing I did when I worked with my regional, the first 3 days was, I'm going to come and help you learn how to pack your trunk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know how to pack a trunk. No, there is a system.
I agree.
And so, you have your medical journals here, you have your pharmaceutical samples here, you have your giveaways here, and you have this, so that when you get to a building,
notepads, your pens.
So when you get to a building of 100 surgeons, you're not going to be fumbling through your car. You're going to get everything, and you're going to go, and you're going to come, and you're going to reload.
Yep.
And so it was they're very big on that. And so I learned a lot about that. And so, yes, I worked with a client who was having all kinds of problems with her business. And I talked to her at the end. I said, can we look at your car? And oh my God, the back was just, it almost exploded when you opened the back.
It was like a bomb
She
shelter.
she had her horseback riding equipment, her
Oh
tennis
no.
rackets,
Oh no.
her all of her work journals and her client files. Everything was just piled.
Disaster.
So yes, it will affect your flow and your movement and your success if you have your car is running well, looks well, and is organized.
Yep.
And I even put a talisman in my car of some sort. We're in the year of the rabbit.
Yep.
So I have the rabbit just icon there representing growth and creativity.
Right.
So you could do something like that also for a little bit of good luck, good fortune. And then in Feng Shui, if you're buying a new car and you want to know which color to get for yourself, you can use your personal element in Chinese astrology.
Right.
So I'm a fire monkey.
Yeah.
So I might choose a red car.
Cool.
Okay. And then I choose the element that complements it, which is earth.
Nice.
And that's browns.
Uh-huh.
So one of my cars in the past was a red SUV, and the interior was brown.
Love that.
So that's one way you can also use that to kind of ramp up a little more energy.
Love it. Love it. I mean, and when you said that, the same goes for your inbox. If your inbox is a mess or your computer's a mess, your files are a mess,
yes,
you can't function. Everything has to be organized and clean and easy to access, because otherwise this takes too much energy.
Right. And a lot of people will say things like, even you said, well, I don't know if I'm able to move my desk, or I might not be able to put a mirror, but look at all the other things you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is get rid of all of the cords and everything that's under your feet that is not organized. Make sure that when you walk in, you can see your feet and you can see your desk.
Great.
All of that is opening up that flow. And then your computer's logged with just, 1,000 emails every morning that you say, well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Yep.
It just slows everything down.
Yep.
And energetically, much less the machine. So it definitely has an effect on that. I've had organizers. My issue is always paper clutter.
Yep.
I'm really good with everything else, but the paper clutter just,
Yeah.
Anyway, I had an organizer help me one Saturday for about 4 hours.
Oh, cool.
We worked on my office. We got all my files in order and everything. On that Monday, I had 4 new clients.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
It is. It makes a big difference. It's amazing. I tell people, if you can just clean out your junk drawer, everybody has a junk drawer in their house.
Yep.
If you just clean that out, you're already moving energy.
Love it.
And I say, if you want to get better health, clean out your refrigerator.
Yeah.
If you want a partnership, clean out your bedroom.
Yeah.
If you want a better career, take a look at your office.
Yep.
These are the things, because they all affect that part of our lives.
Fascinating.
And if there are things that are not working in your life, you can go to Feng Shui for the solution. You can say, I'm not feeling very good lately. And no matter what I do, my health is not great. And I'm doing all the things the doctor says, and I'm going to the gym, but I just never feel like.
Yeah.
Then you can go and say, okay, well, let me take a look at the kitchen.
Yeah.
And let's see if there's anything I can do there to get rid of expired items.
Yeah.
Bring in fresh fruits and vegetables, clean up the kitchen, add some plants to your house, because plants are health.
Yeah. Yeah.
And immediately you'll notice that things are starting to flow again.
That's right. So really, plants, windows, light, fresh air, all these things are really important.
And then there's a whole nother field, which I would love to get in with you on another podcast.
Sure.
And that's all about energy cleansing and saging and smudging spaces, because that is not Feng Shui per se, but it complements it beautifully. It's more of a Native American ritual.
Okay. We'll have to do that.
But it's like cleaning the slate. Like if you're an artist and you want a clean palette, it's like cleaning the slate and then moving in.
Love that.
And it can be done anytime, even if you're already living in a space. But there are many people whose houses don't sell, or who have all kinds of issues. And once we do an energy clearing on the house, everything moves, everything flows.
Amazing. I tell you, there's a lot to this. This is the underlying hidden metaphysical world. There's something to it.
Yes. And even science is now showing that smudging using sage, it kills microbes in the air.
Right. Wow.
And so now they're saying, that it's a good thing to be using, pretty regularly. So it's great. Native Americans always did it to remove negative energy.
Okay. I'd love to.
That was their
I'm
feeling.
going to
But
book you in for another episode all about that.
that'd be fun.
That'd be a lot of fun.
And I have some stories of things that I have seen in houses. Okay. So
I can imagine. If people want to actually learn about feng shui, is it
yes.
easy to do? How would you recommend? Go to a course, read a book, listen to a podcast?
Yeah. Well, reading a book there's two books that are that have been on the market a while that are really great for beginners. And one is the Western school and one is the classical. And the Western school is more kind of a general a method of using a map for your house.
Okay.
It doesn't take into account your personal direction your house faces and the year it was built and all of that. And it's not that. But one is called Feng Shui for Dummies.
Okay, cool.
Okay, and that's the Western.
Yeah.
And the other one is the Idiot's Guide to Feng Shui.
Cool.
You know those series, those book series that you ever. Yeah. Well, the Idiot's Guide is the classical form.
All right.
And then the Dummies is the Western.
Okay.
And you can start to learn. Okay. And then if you really want to be a practitioner or just because you want to learn more for your own life, then you can take classes in your own city by going to the Feng Shui Guild.org.
Okay. Very cool.
And they have teachers from all over the world, even on that site.
Okay, great.
And you can find classes and courses, and then that would lead you to then maybe wanting to do some training if you wanted to be a practitioner.
Awesome. I'm going to make sure I put all those links and titles in the notes because I think that'd be a fascinating place for people to go.
And people can always contact me because I do a lot of my work on Zoom all over the world. All I need is your floor plan, the year your house was built, the direction it's facing, and pictures.
Love it.
And we can do the whole thing on Zoom and give you advice on what might be blocking you and what ways you can do to open up that and move energy.
Amazing. Now, you must have seen some amazing things and have heard some amazing stories. I'd love to maybe share a couple of case studies, obviously confidentially, but have you got a couple of great case studies that you can share?
Yeah, I have one that always comes to mind because it ties in with the clearing. I had a client that was referred to me from a holistic doctor. So he's holistic integrated medicine. He had this client who couldn't sleep.
Right.
And he was doing all the things with her and working with her, but she had not slept, and she said in almost 5 years.
Oh my Lord.
And she was probably in her 30s, not an older lady at all. And so he referred her to me. And so I met her at her home. And so I said, well, before we go through the whole house, let's look at the bedroom. And so we took a look at the bedroom, and I made sure that, she had blackout curtains so that you don't have unexpected light when you're waking up. It needs to be your body clock, not nature, because everybody's different.
Not the construction site next door.
And make sure you have some kind of a sound buffer if there's any noise. And make sure
use earplugs or something.
And so basically make sure you have a good organic or really good solid mattress and good bed. And in Feng Shui, we like wooden beds, not metal.
Okay.
And and no clutter under the bed so the chi can flow around you. Have some calming pictures. Let's get rid of the electromagnetics in the room. So all of this we did. I said, and I use a pendulum, and some people may not be familiar with that, but it's a way to test energy. It's also falls along the lines of chiropractors use it when they're determining the energy of a person before they give them an adjustment.
Okay. And maybe kinesiologists, would they use that?
Yes. And it basically can tell you the energy in the room or in the space and whether it's good or bad. And so I picked up a very strong, heavy energy in that house.
Oh, okay.
And I said, it really needs an energy clearing, and I'll describe what that is to you. And so we did. And so we did that on a day where nobody was home, opened up the doors and windows, and we, did the ritual and then staging and put an intention, what have you.
And that's what you mentioned before with sage and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it complements Feng Shui beautifully because there's energy that's stuck. And if it's been there a long time, if the people that you bought your house from died in the house or had illnesses, that energy and those emotions get stored in the walls.
Right. Well.
And so we break them up with high-pitched bells, and then we smudge it, and we do a blessing together.
Right.
So when that was completed, I said, let's check in, what have you. And so she basically said that within a few days she was sleeping. And then I checked in with her again. She was sleeping. She had great dreams.
Amazing.
And she didn't feel that heaviness. And yes, she was sleeping better than she said. And I haven't slept in 5 years.
Wow. So it was all about the bedroom and the general energy in the house.
Right.
Wow.
And so a lot of people don't think that. They think they have a beautifully decorated bedroom, but they're not thinking about the clutter under the bed.
That's right.
Or, they're not thinking about the electromagnetics.
Yeah.
Or they're not thinking about the light. And here, a lot of the houses are built with a lot of big windows with no draperies because people want to see nature.
Right.
And they have these windows over the bed. And there's nothing at all. So you wake up to bright light.
Yeah.
And then you're shocking your system, if you will.
Yeah. Just actually on that point, should people put their bed opposite the window, next to the window, under the window?
Okay, good question on that one, because it's very important. You don't want windows behind you.
Right.
Even if they're at the top, because it's too much chi flow coming at your back.
Gotcha.
We want that solid wall again. A good headboard will suffice if you have a window, but you also need a heavy drape.
Right.
Okay. And then windows on the sides are fine. Okay. Even window opposite you is fine. Okay. Again, but at night,
close them up.
Make it into a little den, a little cave, if you will.
Yep.
Where you can sleep peacefully, wake up to your alarm clock or the time that you want to wake up.
Yep.
And then have that be a consistent thing.
I love because that. A lot of people like that. I need total darkness. I need silence. I sleep the best when I'm like that.
Me too. When you're refreshed for the day, you have energy. You may wake up a little sluggish because maybe you had a rough night of dreaming, but most of the day you have good energy.
That's right. Yep.
Because of that. And so that's a really important thing. So that was one. Another one was, and I'll just leave with this one because time wise, I worked with the Memphis. I was living in Memphis, and I worked with the zoo. They were going to bring the pandas from China to the Memphis Zoo.
Oh my God.
And the Feng Shui masters in China said they would not allow them to be brought over unless their facility had been Feng Shuied.
Oh my God.
And so they called me. And so I helped them with the layout and the design.
Yep.
And I said, of course, they're going to have their own system and they're going to have their own, I said, I'm going to help you and hopefully I'm giving you a good foundation.
Yep.
And then they'll come back and they'll, do their work as well. But anyway, they sent them pictures and they, and so they were comfortable. So they brought the pandas over and they told the people at the zoo that they were very happy. And, the layout was there. So they wanted that to be important,
Awesome. And how did they find you? How did the zoo find you?
In Memphis, I was pretty well known at that time. I'd been there probably about 5 years and I've been written up in the Memphis Business Journal and some of the papers and things. I was pretty much the only one really practicing at the time. But yeah, that was really cool.
Wow. And I've got to ask, if you have time, what about food? Does Feng Shui also go into food?
It is. There is a book that one of the teachers wrote on food. I don't know the name of it, but you can just do Feng Shui foods or for good health. And there again, they're all about working with the 5 elements and having that balance of color on your plate.
Right.
Kind of like the Mediterranean diet, where you want to have lots of color.
Yeah.
And and it's not just about it's how you eat. Not
so
doing
take your time slowly.
Yes, being mindful.
Yeah.
Making sure things are fresh, and sitting in an environment that has good energy. And by the way, we do have a system where we use your birth date and we determine your best facing directions.
Oh, okay.
And that gives you more energy. So, like if you're going to be signing Trump, back in the day when Trump was doing a lot of business with Asian businessmen, they would come to Trump Tower. They wouldn't sign contracts unless they were facing their best direction.
Amazing.
And they told him where to put the ATM machines, that they were in the lobby. They were in the wrong place.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so it's an extra level of energy. And I have had people that had really good feng shui, but they were not getting their results. And so we put them in their best direction, and immediately they got pay raises and promotions. So it's another level of energy that I work with people on.
Do most people in China have a natural feng shui component built into the culture, or there's a lot of people that wouldn't know a thing about it?
No, ironically, because it's so old, and a lot of it came from the kids today. It's their great grandparents.
Yep.
They see it as superstition.
Right.
Oh, grandma used to put this red thing over the door, and so you did, and they kind of see it that way. So it's not like a general thing that the culture. Gotcha. The Asian couples that called me, they are interested. They understand the concept, but they don't understand any of the things that we're doing. They weren't really raised with it. Yeah. If they were raised with it, it was more of a
superstition type of thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, grandma's superstitious,
Yeah, and really today we are seeing that there are actually degrees in environmental design. They're the organizers, have a full industry, billion-dollar industry, because they're working on getting rid of clutter to move energy. So the concepts are being used today everywhere. I had somebody tell me, "Are you doing feng shui? Wasn't that a trend like 20 years ago?" I go, "No, might have started out as a trend, but it's here forever. I mean, it's a 4,000-year-old art. Whatever you want to call this flow of energy, it's going to be here forever. I mean, it's part of
energy is energy. It's part of our life, part of Earth.
Was it Albert Einstein says nothing happens until something moves?
Yep.
You have to move something to create an effect.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing. I had a lady that was like had just felt stuck in her life, and went to her house, and she had a lamp that she hadn't moved in 40 years. So we moved her living room around, and all of a sudden she was lighter. She was happier. Things happened for her.
Yep. Amazing. Now, Belinda, I'd love to give you an opportunity to tell us a bit more about how you actually work and how people can find you.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I'm on my 23rd year of consulting. Incredible. I do teach. Yeah, I do teach here in Austin, and I've been doing Zoom consultations for about the past 5 years. And that is really fun. So I can help anybody. They just message me at my website, designforenergy.com, or they can also join my Facebook page, which is Belinda's DIY on Facebook. And that one is, I post case studies, tips. Yep. I answer questions. I do a monthly newsletter with the monthly stars. So if you're working on a specific issue, I'll tell you that month what you need to activate. Yep. And that's through my newsletter. So that's on my website. I would say that would be my best way to reach me. Beautiful. And I love doing it. It has so many facets. It helps so many people in so many different ways. And I just enjoy doing it and helping people.
And some people would obviously just need a couple of consultations, and some people might want a longer term engagement.
Oh, yeah. So I do offer packages. So if you have a home and we're doing it on Zoom, then it's going to take at least 2 Zoom sessions, about 2 hours a piece. Yep. The first one is for the assessment. The second one is for the follow-up and the fine tuning.
Yep.
And then I have another package where the in-person packages would involve the energy clearing.
Yep.
But I also do energy clearing at a distance.
Okay.
So that's another thing can be done. And then so there's 3 different packages with different price points based upon your project and what's needed. And then I also can always just do an hour consultation for anybody just to answer general questions.
Awesome. And do you work with corporates as well? Like, say, a big construction company or an architect is building a big corporate building.
Yes, I have done that in the past, quite a few. And I had a space that was 30,000 square feet. It was a huge facility here in Austin.
Yeah.
And worked with them on their build out.
Fantastic.
And then I've also helped people when they're building homes that, at the beginning level, even finding the land.
Yeah.
Because, you want to make sure where you position your home that it's going to be in a place that is not going to be obstructed by the energy that might be there from something else.
So even people maybe that are buying houses, you can help them as well in terms of where to buy.
Yes. and even if I'm talking to somebody in Australia and they're wanting to buy a house, all I need to do is see we call them MLS listings here. I don't know what they call them there, but it's basically where it's listed on the internet.
Yep.
All I need to see is, give me a couple of houses you're really interested in buying, and I'll do an assessment on both of them and tell you which one has the best feng shui potential.
Love that. Okay, very cool. In terms of where the light's coming in, how's it set up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then is the floor plan one that has good flow, and any corrections that we're going to make, or because there's some spaces that there's no corrections we can make.
Yep, fair enough. Yep, perfect.
They're going to have problems because it's just not built right, or it's not in a good place, like it's like next to a railroad track.
Yep, exactly. Yep, can't do much about it. Yep. Fascinating. I think this all we've done is touch the tip of the iceberg today. I think there's so much more to it, but we're definitely going to have you back to learn more.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that, Belinda. That was fascinating.
Well, good.
And I've always
I'm so glad. I hope I answered the questions that you think your audience would like to hear about. And,
I'm sure.
It's really, it totally catapulted my career. It's what helped me move away from, that corporate life and do what I love. Yep. And it just made such a difference. And I continue to feng shui all the time. And what I mean by that is I'm constantly looking at what I can get rid of. Yep. What can I move around? What can make this feel better?
Yeah. Because things accumulate, over time. Things just accumulate in your drawers, on your desks, in the corners of the room, whatever. In your car.
And I guarantee you when I say this, because it's been reported by so many people, and then it's been written about in the law of attraction field, that you put a picture of something you really desire opposite you, and the next thing you know, you're there.
Wow, cool. Yep.
It just, you don't even know how you got there. It's like
the power of visualization and
yes.
Yep.
And you don't have to force it. You don't have to be thinking about how you're going to get there.
Love it.
It just immediately something will hit you and you'll follow that lead.
Yeah.
And then and that's how it works. It's like we have the 3 steps. We say, okay, intention, and then set up the space, and the third is take action.
Love it. Awesome.
Because if you don't take action, you're just kind of.
Exactly. And I think doing a consultation where you even just get an introduction into Feng Shui. Was it Feng Shui? Is that how you pronounce it? Feng Shui?
Here in the West, they call it Feng Shui.
Feng Shui.
Okay. In China, it's Feng Shui. Feng Shui.
Okay, Feng Shui.
But here we call it Feng Shui.
Feng Shui. Okay, cool.
And I offer, and it'll be on my website, a free, complimentary 45-minute phone consultation, and that is a get to know. That means you tell me about your project, and I give you solutions and different ways of working with you. And even if we don't work together, you're still going to get some good tips.
Beautiful. Love that. And I think, doing a consultation or just learning a bit more, becoming more aware about Feng Shui will also allow you to just become more mindful and aware in your day-to-day life, because it just adds that element of awareness to whatever you're doing. And that's already going to have a huge benefit on your life.
I just got asked to give a talk to, I don't know if it's international, but in the US, it's called Dress for Success.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
It's a nonprofit organization that helps women get into careers who don't have the resources.
Cool.
So they provide them clothing, shoes, purses, briefcases, training.
Wow.
And so they've asked me to give a talk, and it's going to be on how to use what you wear to bring money to you.
Awesome. So Feng Shui even has an element in your clothing.
Right.
Oh my God.
Dress for success with Feng Shui.
Very cool. I love it. All right. We're definitely going to have you back. There's too much to go through.
Yeah. So there's some different topics that'd be fun to talk about in the future. I'd love to.
Awesome. Belinda, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed that. You're going to be my resident Feng Shui consultant.
All right.
We're going to have you back for sure. And if anybody has questions, feel free to write in and check out the links that I'm going to put in the show notes. Get in touch with Belinda, do a Feng Shui consultation or whatever, because she's fantastic.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Would you like to leave us with any last thoughts?
I always think that it's important to have a new mantra, not to keep the same old one you've always had.
Yeah.
and whatever that is. But I would say, your goal is to feel great. I feel great, and I am totally abundant.
Love it. Fantastic. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I really love that. We'll see you very soon for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. Thanks again, Belinda.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining me for another episode of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast. If you would like to join me as a guest on the show, I would be delighted to collaborate. Feel free to buzz me on 0414 659 800 or email me on darren@suspendedanimation.com.au. I'm always on the lookout for great guests who can share their stories and expertise with my community. Also, if you have been thinking about putting your own podcast together and not sure where to begin, look no further. I run a really simple 3-part podcasting course, one-on-one with me, where I walk you through the entire podcasting journey. You will end up with a fantastic new podcast to start sharing right away. Feel free to get in touch to discuss further. But for now, though, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.